This conference will now be recorded.
So can you see the screen? Hello?
Yeah.
Okay, right. All right. So let's continue. Sorry, yesterday I just tried, but my go-to meeting was not working. Okay. So let's do continue with the scheduler that we were discussed earlier. Yarn as a main part, which is called scheduler, so which is responsible for scheduling the job. Okay. So if you look into the Yarn scheduler, so mainly there are three types of scheduler available. So one is FIFO. So FIFO stands for first in, first out. That is just like a queue. Okay. So come here and come out of this. So whoever submit the first will have the highest priority than the people who submit next. So because the one who submit, and if he is using all the resources, the upcoming jobs has to wait until he complete his utilization, or they have to wait until he has finished and there are some resources available after his use. So that is about FIFO scheduler, first in, first out. The next type of scheduler is capacity scheduler. So in capacity scheduler, what we will do again, so this is all scheduling is based on resources. So mainly the memory and CPU. Okay. So based on the memory and the CPU values, so we schedule the job because each job require certain containers, I mean slots, which is a combination of CPU and memory. So in capacity scheduler, what they will do, so they will configure different queues. Okay, logical unit called queue. So for example, this is Q1 and this is Q2 and this is Q3, etc. Okay, and each queue will be associated with a certain percentage. So for example, this is out of 100. So we can have some percentage for allocation. One second. So some percentage of allocation we can do here. So say for mostly this will do when a multi-tenant like or multiple departments are involved, and they will configure it certain percentage for this queues. Okay, and say for example this is 30, 30 and 40 like that. Maybe 30 percentage of budget he is from his department and 30 percentage from this and 40% like that, based on the usage or the other factor. So we will allocate some percentage. And then see, we can have the capacity, that is a percentage, and maximum capacity also we can configure. The maximum capacity means when no jobs are running on these other queues, so he can use above this 30 percentage. Okay, but the only thing is whenever a job gets submitted to other queues, so that slowly I mean released whatever the extra he using. That is about the capacity scheduler. And again, within the queue, there may be the multiple people submitting. Okay, so that will be using a FIFO algorithm. I mean the first in, first out by default. But we can configure fair scheduling mechanism also here, so that each one will get equal opportunity. Okay, so that is about the capacity scheduler. And the third type of scheduler is fair scheduler or fair share scheduler we call. And here uh, again here we will have the equal opportunity for each job. Say for example, here also we will have the queue, or we can have the queue or without use the default queue also. How this algorithm works is, suppose, okay, so we have a total this much resource, and if one person submit the job, he will get the complete resources, and his job will be utilizing with all the resources. So as long as he need the resources, he can use. But in between, if any new jobs get submitted, so what it will do, some portion of the resources he will allocate. Say for it will just change to 50-50 mode. And if one more person submitted and he just reduced it value, say for example 35 or something like that, on an average and the equal share. So this is called fair share scheduling or fair scheduler by default. Okay. So the FIFO is the default in Apache distribution, and the capacity scheduler, which is the default scheduler in Hortonworks, and fair share scheduler default in Cloudera. Okay. And in fair share also we can have the concept of queues, and I will show you that in detail. So mostly people go ahead with the capacity scheduler if they are using Hortonworks distribution, because it's a vendor also recommend, I think, this scheduler, and fair share if using Cloudera distribution. And let's go to the yarn.
So,
And
do you get capacity scheduler in Cloudera?
yes, we have that option. No, capacity scheduler is default in Hortonworks, and in Cloudera the default is fair share.
So, okay, you don't have option at all for capacity.
Yes, we do have that option. Okay, so you can see this parameter. Okay,
all right.
So this is used for switching in between the scheduler. Okay, so if I use this capacity scheduler option, then my yarn will be using the capacity scheduler. And if I just this is just like you can select any one of this radio button. So that means it can be capacity scheduler, FIFO scheduler, or fair scheduler. And this is all the class name that is available inside the yarn resource manager scheduler that jar file. So okay, inside that these are the different jars files or class available. So if you change this class, so if you change it for capacity scheduler, then it will be using capacity scheduler. If you change it to FIFO, it will use a FIFO. I think the last class we just changed to capacity scheduler. Okay, and also we will be able to visualize this from the resource manager UI. And we in capacity scheduler, if we selected the capacity scheduler, we have capacity scheduler configuration. So that will have, we can have the root queues. I mean, on the top, from the top, what are the queues we have? We can have the production and marketing. So these are the just two queue name. If you need 3 or more or whatever the queue numbers you need, you can add that queues. Let me just get the IP address. Right. So just go to a scheduler option. You can see what scheduler we used. Okay, and using the other schedulers like the capacity and fair is just like an experimental mode, but in most of the Cloudera distribution, the default one is fair, and also most of the people use this default fair scheduler. But however, we have option to switch to FIFO and capacity. So I think the FIFO we already tested, and if you just select, and we will have only one queue, that default queue available. You can keep submit the job. So whatever the job we submitted, so that will be in the pending state if any jobs is already submitted and which is in running state. Okay, but in capacity we can have the multiple queues. Okay, so these are the some of the parameters we need to set. Yarn capacity root queues. Okay, on the top, what are the queues we are creating? Root queue means this is the by default this is the top one. I mean the root. Under root, we will have multiple queues. This actually follows a hierarchical structure. Okay, so under root, we name this queue as root.marketing or root.production like that. And under that, what are the queues? The production, marketing, and if we want, we can have another queue name also written here, so that we will have the 3 or more queues. So that is about this parameter. And okay, again about the root capacity. Root is the top, and definitely it will have the capacity 100. Then what we will do, the same these two parameters, if you just take, so instead of root, we will just write root.production and root.marketing. So here you can see yarn scheduler capacity, root.production capacity. So for the production capacity, production queue, what is the capacity we are giving? So I just gave 50%. Okay. So that is the absolute capacity. It's written here. That means the people who submit on the production queue can make use of 50% when the marketing queue is fully utilized. And maximum capacity here you can see 100. That means if no jobs are running on the marketing queue, it can make use of 100%. Again, this is again a configurable parameter. We can change that value here, like the maximum capacity and the minimum capacity like that. Okay. So yarn scheduler root production capacity. This is the default capacity that I changed to 50. You can change this value. So 40 or 30 or whatever the main thing. And similarly, for marketing also, we just added the max default capacity. So that is what it's showing, 50-50. If I just change to 40-60 or something like that, so you can see that parameters, maybe it require a refresh or a restarting. Okay, stale configuration, we need to refresh.
So final tick, appears. That's what does that show? That shows the boundary, is it?
This one you are talking, absolute
No, I'm talking about
capacity.
when we are configuring, there is a tick box that shows final. When we configure it, there is a
Oh, okay. Final means I think that won't let people to do edit. That actually that is the property of XML. So you are talking about that parameter changing part, right? Under
yeah.
yeah, okay. Yeah, that is just that will add just an option called final settings. If I remember that, so that is something like I won't let people to make changes in the configuration. So I need to
Oh,
just go through that again. So basically, that will just add some final or something in the XML file. So
okay.
basically, whatever the settings we do, whatever the parameters we set here, in the backend there will be an XML files, lot of XML file. I think if you can just download this client configuration and see a couple of yarn site XML. So those XML you can see here. So I think show in the folder that gone. So you can just download client configuration and go to the directory. Just yarn configuration. You can see uh, where is
Double
yarn
click.
site XML. Yeah. So capacity scheduler class, and we are expecting one more file like capacity scheduler XML file. Okay, that is not getting added here. Maybe after restarting or redeploying the service, it should come. So maybe we have to go to the backend and see. Okay.
Okay.
slash var run Cloudera SCM agent process. So go to the yarn resource manager. Yeah, here you can see capacity scheduler XML. I don't know, this is not in the proper alignment, but okay. So if you just copy that and add it into an XML, so it should be like this only. Name, value. So for value, so we have a final equal to true. Okay. And so basically what I believe is I don't remember exactly now. So this is something like if we set final equal to true, then it won't let people to change these values.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And basically whatever the values we set, yarn scheduler, root capacity, then what is the scheduler production capacity, then what is the other queue capacity, all those things will be written into an XML file or couple of XML file in backend. Now if I just refresh this, so instead of 50-50, so this might change to whatever the marketing queue you can see, it's a 60 percentage, and whatever the production queue, this is 40 percentage. But still the maximum capacity is showing 100. That means, so if no jobs are running, okay, if I submit a one job to this marketing queue and my production is full free, and if still marketing need few more resources, it can utilize the resources that is reserved for production. That means here we have a total 36 slots available, right? 36 gig and 36, so total 36. So if I submit a large job to this marketing or large job to this production, so we have only 40 percentage. So 40 percentage of this value means how much, I don't let me open the calculate. So 36 into 0.4, so around 14 resources only it can use. Okay, that is a 40%. But if I put 100% as maximum capacity, that means if no jobs are running or in the other queues and resources are free, it can utilize the 100%. But the problem is whenever a new job gets submitted to the other queue, because other queue already have 60% reservation, so this has to release the resources. Upon releasing the containers, so that will be start using by marketing. But still there will be a few delay for the jobs which is newly submitted to marketing job, because it has to wait until this release those particular containers. Okay, so that is about the maximum capacity. And there are a couple of parameters like maximum, minimum and all, but it's very rare like people use capacity scheduler in Cloudera configuration, because in Cloudera its default queue is fair scheduler. So let's just I'm submitting to this marketing. So basic, or just I can use production also here. Okay. So for production queue, okay, this is simple MapReduce job, Hadoop jar, whatever the jar file. And for programming, this is the options that actually this is an example code which we used for testing the cluster and finding out the pi. And you can pass this argument for specifying the queue name, MapReduce job dot queue name. And this is the number of mapper and samples per mapper. So this is all related to, uh, I mean, the parameters that this particular job accept. Okay. And if I just submit in the production, so technically it should be able to use only 14 resources or 14 slots. Okay, let's see how many resources it's using. And this job, see, you can see it started using the 16 containers. So maybe it will again increases because we have the 100% limit. And let me submit another job. Uh, another job, so that I'm submitting to a marketing queue. Okay, so I don't have the key. That is the reason the job got failed. Now if we see here, just a second, job is just starting. Okay, so job just started. Now you can see this is start using only 4% it's using, but here how much percentage? So 11%. More than 100% it's used. I mean, the two are extra, so that is the reason it's showing this one triple one. So let's just refresh this. So here you can see some time gap. Okay, the reason is uh, uh, so this is started using a lot of containers, but it has to release that particular container, and finally it has to reach like 40 50 that balance. So for that there will be some delay. Okay, I think the production job is over, only the marketing. So you can experience this thing only when we submit the both job at a same time, then you can see that.
I suggest this, Prasad here.
Yeah.
Okay, within the same queue, if the multiple users submitting multiple jobs, how the resources will be allocated? Like, for example, job one started and it's occupied all complete 50%. immediately started the job 2 and job 3 and job 4, and this will be acted like again capacity within the capacity scheduler.
No. Within the capacity, I mean the capacity scheduler. If you have the capacity scheduler, so within that queue, it will be just fair or capacity mode. Okay. So
So
if you
it
just
configure
use
somewhere.
yes, we have. I mean, so you will get better picture if you use Hortonworks, and there is a configuration for adding the queue and everything in the GUI itself. While adding the queue, we have an option like which queue inside. So the capacity scheduler is just a list of queues, and which is again that queues will have either fair or FIFO scheduler configured.
Can
So
not configure,
let's
right? Within the queue.
let's yeah, within the queue, we will it by default it will be used fair or capacity fair or FIFO. Let's just test that. Okay, so let's just submit this job to the production queue. Okay, so once it start running, then we will submit the other job also. Okay, then to the other user, so we will just use the same production queue here also, and we will see whether this is getting the resources. If this is getting equal amount of resources, that means the fair. If it's waiting, then that means it's a FIFO. So fair means it will do a 50-50. Okay, if someone okay, so in this queue, one job is running. If any other jobs comes, that running job will allocate the releases some percentage of resources and give to the other person, so that the other need not to wait. But in FIFO means it's just like a greedy thing. So it will take whatever it need. It won't consider the upcoming jobs. So that is the way the FIFO work. So this is running here, and this job is 0%. And let's just refresh this and see. Now you can see it's a 50% allocated. 16 used by one and another 16 by the other job. And also you can see so actually our production job capacity is 40%, but it's reached almost 100%, right? So that is a soft limit and hard that maximum capacity we have. So uh, is it clear? So here it's sure like it's used
Why it is showing 222%?
232%. The reason is for this production cluster, so we have configured only 40%. So 40% of total resource means how much resource we have? We have only I think only 32 cores available. Okay. So if you see our capacity is 36. So out of 36, 40% is around 14. So technically, it can use only what is its absolute capacity is 40%. I think till here. So you can see a dotted line till here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are just setting the limit to this 40%. So the reason is, and there is a maximum capacity also. So the 40% means at any circumstances, it makes sure the 40% resource is available for this queue. But the main thing is here for other queues, the resources are not utilized. We don't have any jobs running for the marketing queue. So that resources are free. So okay, so we are just letting this production to use that resources also. So that is the parameter we set here, like maximum capacity as 100%. You can see that here. Just see absolute maximum capacity. I think we can change this absolute maximum capacity to some lower value also. Then we can make sure it will not use 100%. I'll show you that also. Capacity scheduler. Yes. Okay. So this is the Ion capacity scheduler queue name, and this is the one we need to set. Okay. So limit beyond which this we cannot this cannot use any resources. So let's go back to the yarn, then go to the configuration. So is this clear or still confusing?
Please repeat the same again. Little confused, like.
Okay. No. The reason is here I have not set anything. So just use 40 and 60. So for
Okay,
production queue 40 percentage and for marketing queue 60 percentage.
okay, got it.
By default, okay, by default there is a maximum capacity that is 100. Since we have not set that value, so it will make use of just a second. Uh, Okay, so what I did is 40 percentage for this 40 percentage, that will always guarantee this particular queue will get 40 percentage if other queues are full, or even if cluster is full. So always assures like 40 percentage is reserved for this queue, and it also ensures 60 percentage for this queue. But what will happen, or what if what if another queue, all the queues are free, or no jobs are running, and we are only the job on this production? So even this is a 40, if it's just giving only 40 percentage, then still 60 percentage of resources will be underutilized, or that will kept as it is there, just waiting for other users to the queue, and for that. But we can make use of that if no jobs are running. So that is what this will do. Okay. So but if I set the maximum capacity to some other value, I can lower that. I'll show you how to set this. And I'm just going to add one more yarn.scheduler production, and I need one more for marketing also. And what I need is this maximum capacity. So what maximum capacity we can set for this one? Okay, so that in that case, so this will change, this value we can change. I think that is the value. Support priority minimum is a limit percentage. Okay, right. So I am just changing. For production we have only 40. So if you want to use only 40 alone, okay, the maximum capacity and the capacity also 40 we can set. For this one I can just change to 60, or you can just increase the value a little bit so that it won't use a full your resources. So the production, the maximum and the minimum is 40, means even if other resources are not in use, or other queues are not in use, so it won't let people to use more than that. Okay, so let me back to the and redeploy. Okay, so let me while this is getting actually this is a confusing and part, but it's a very simple and straightforward only. So I'll tell you, this is a queue. Okay, this is another queue. So production, and whatever the other queue is marketing. Okay, so we have only two queues. So the total, this comes under root. So root is having 100 percentage. So whatever the total capacity percentage, we should get 100. So here we just use a 40 percentage. and so definitely it should have 60%, or else we will have 10% free. And here, so the 40% means if this is full, or marketing queue is full, a lot of this job is running. So if any job submit here, so it guarantees, okay, the 40% of resource. Say for example, I have 100 containers or 100 CPU and 100 vCores available. So always the 40 will be reserved here and 60 will be reserved here. Okay. So the reservation means it will just guarantee, okay, this is available for the jobs submit here. So if we are just focusing on the production, so if people submit here and but it need more than 40%, what it will do? So also the marketing queue is I mean not utilized, but it can use some of the resources that is assigned for this or just like reserved for this one. But only thing is when the jobs comes here, so it has to release that. So this is a simple analogy is here, like in transport bus and all, we will have the seat reservation for ladies. Okay. So as per central government RTO rule, so 20% is reserved for female passenger. So what we will do? Okay. See, especially at the night time, only the male passengers will be more. So they will use their seat, and also unoccupied female seat they will occupy. But only thing is when any female passenger comes here, so he has to release that seat and give it to her. The same thing will work here. Okay. So the here the maximum capacity means, okay, 100. I mean, so if no female passenger is there, so he can make use of 100 full seats. I mean, the all male passengers can sit here. But so we have to assure like this is the 20% is given to them if they are available. But okay, in some case, okay, conductor think, okay, so we will just give a 90 seat to the male passengers. Even if females are not there, they will just leave that some of the seat as it is, so that it will be convenient for if any new female join this trip, like that. Okay. So here we have 100 means it can use this total, say for example, if you have 100, so total 100 containers can use for this job. But the problem is if the jobs are running and if any containers are free, immediately it will give back to this one if any job submit here. Otherwise, if no jobs are running here, so it can continuously use. But this value, okay, by default the maximum capacity is 100, so that means it can use the entire cluster resources. But again, there is a configurable parameter, so we can change that maximum capacity. Now, if you just see here, see, absolute capacity is 60 and absolute maximum capacity is 60, so that even if the resources are free on the other queue, it cannot make use. So let me submit the job again and see. I'm submitting the job on the production. Again, here on the production. So now, earlier case, we use 100% of resources from the production, even though we have a 40% reservation, but we have the maximum capacity of 100. Now you can see this is using only a 40% of capacity, even though this is 13 and 1. That means that is the calculated value. 40%, 14.4 means it's the numerical nearest numerical value is 14, so it can use only 14 resources. I think this is I'm not sure, like this is using yeah. So now you can see this is not using See, used capacities 97.2. We are getting the value like this. The reason is we don't have an exact numerical figure. Okay, so 97.2 means 34 or 32. We have yeah, 36. So if you just see here, 36 into 0.972.
Yeah,
Sorry,
one container
sorry,
is
not
used for app master, right?
yes, yes.
That's why it's using
I
35.
no, one container that will also using under this 16.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so total containers running means here 13 means one for this one and the other for map or reduced job. Okay, so but here we restricted the maximum of 40 itself. So that means it cannot go beyond this capacity. Okay, so you can see this gap, right? The actual 40 percentage is something like 14 point this one, but this is can use only 14 because the remaining is like some what we call non-numerical value. So basically we can configure the queues and define the capacity maximum and actual capacity, and we can have the multiple number of capacity, and people can define the queue, which queue to go, and also there is option to specify based on the group name. So default queue also people can configure. And if you are using Hortonworks cluster distribution, so there is a very good graphical option available to configure the queue and manage the queue itself. But it's very rare, like people use capacity scheduler in Cloudera. Okay, but just understand this option is available, so we can have a different queuing or mechanism available. So FIFO, fair, and capacity. Now we will go back to fair scheduler, which is the default option available in Cloudera, and we will configure the queues.
So Sajesh, what happened just now? So we have configured 40%, so that was good. But when we submitted both the jobs, was it using, if you can click there, was it using half and half, or was it using full and other was waiting?
Actually, the it was using, one is using full and other is just waiting. I don't know why. Actually, in earlier we could see like a 50-50 allocation. Let me submit it again and see. Because if it's a fair scale, then it has to reduce to 7, and the other job also has to get a 7. Again, there will be a minor few minutes delay for releasing the resources, because all 14 are 14 are running, maybe one for application master and the remaining 13 for map or map task or reduce task, whatever it may be. But once that particular map task finish, then it has to release the resources or release the container, and the next job has to use.
Indeed, yeah, I think that's quite understandable, because once all the resources are being consumed, it has to release it slowly once that particular container job finishes, isn't it? And then allocate over to other job.
Correct. So now, okay, it's showing just 8. Maybe it's a reach to, okay, no, 95%. Maybe that is the reason. But the thing is, like in capacity scheduler, just 1 second. To, second. capacity, then priority, user limit percentage. I'll have to check that, but I couldn't find it here. But there is an option. Earlier they were saying like it's only FIFO supported inside the capacity scheduler queues, but the latest version of Hortonworks support the FAIR also. Okay, the FIFO means technically if we submit the second job, then the second job has to wait until the first job finish. Then only he can start. I'll have to confirm that. What I believe is the default is FIFO. Okay, so we'll have to do a couple of more tests. Maybe at the same time, the two job has to submit and see. Here 63 and here this is completed. So the default is within that queue. If multiple jobs are submitted, that conflict is resolved. By default, it's FIFO earlier, and then now FAIR also. But I don't know, like the default FAIR is supported here. So this thing I need to check. But there is an option available for switching to FIFO or FAIR. I couldn't see that option here. Capacity queues, maximum allocation. Also, there is another option like so user to queue mapping. Okay, you can see here like so you have a user or group. So which default queuing mechanism you need, so that you can specify by using this parameter. So this also we can add yarn scheduler capacity queue mapping. Application lifetime. Maximum application priority monitor and okay, set up application priority. Yarn.cluster. Okay, I think this will gives us solution. We can Just a second. Go to the configuration. Scheduler, and we are just adding that FIFO and root dot production. So just redeploy and restart. Okay, so this is application priority. Application priority, the default is FIFO, but that if an application will not be changed when the application move to different queue. So I'll have to check what this fair support here or not. So we will see that later. And another thing, important good thing you can just note here is like you can have that the default queue configured based on the user ID or the group ID. Okay, this one also we can try. Yarn scheduler capacity queue mapping. So you can just see here. Go to the yarn configuration. I think we need to set that property. Okay, you just search for this advanced configuration snippet, and here we can add that properties. Okay, just add that. So queue mapping, you can have values like what is the user ID and group. Then here the user. Okay, here the user is mapped to Q1 and group 1 is mapped to Q2. Same name as okay. What is this one mean? Map users to queues with the same name as user. Oh, okay, right. So this means the username and group name, they're just treating us as same. Okay, suppose it will be there will be a queue created for the same user ID name, and this one user to means. So this means what is the primary group? So basically, we can have this option like a user or group based on that which queue it has to go. So for us, we can just try it. Say for example, marketing. So this is the queue, and what is the user? Just let me just take this user ID and add that like u colon. What is the user ID and what is the queue name? So queue name is marketing. Then comma another user is this user, right? So test user. So u colon test user colon what is the next queue? That is production.
There is a
And
dot in front of marketing. Can you check? In front of marketing.
yeah, sure. Thank you. Okay, I don't know whether we need to write a root dot marketing or root dot production. Let me just try
So
this.
where did you see these options, by the way? Oh, advanced settings.
Yeah. Advanced configuration snippet. So there will be an option like for just adding the custom configuration. So you can just use this property in the configuration and see it's already there. If it's not there, you can add that in the advanced configuration snippet. I'm just going to redeploy or restart the service.
And how this will help advanced configuration, basically?
This one you are talking separately for this property setting.
Yeah.
This one allows us to, okay, so here we use that queue name exclusively, right? And but if the people is from this particular group submit into the default into that group, that queue like that.
I see. Yeah.
I mean basically setting the default queue. So
Yeah.
here I submitted without specifying. Earlier I used that -d option to specify. Here I just simply submitted without that, and we will see on which queue it's submitted. It's into marketing. So here I used in the configuration. If you see here, uh, if I go to advanced configuration snippet, and the property which I set is I have to go to the marketing. So that means I submitted the job. By default, it goes to marketing. You got this one, right? So
Yeah.
-u means the user ID. So we can have the U or G also, G for group. And another test user, if I submit the job from the test user. So earlier we use -d this queue name. So if you just, even if you remove this option, so it should go to the default queue configured for this. Even if I use -d option, it will override the default setting. So now if I just submit it, uh, right. So that is by default went to the production one, even though we have not specified that queue name or which queue to run. Okay. So these are the various options that we can use with the capacity scheduler. A lot of options are there, and we need to explore. And also we can set who can access or who cannot access. A lot of things we can configure with this. Okay. But however, we will not be using this capacity scheduler for Cloudera based cluster. So we will be using fair share scheduler or fair scheduler.
Is there something like take example, if I belong to IT department or marketing in this case, and I have given it a specific capacity to do, say take a 30% or 40%, and I don't belong to production group. And what I'm saying, and can I misuse production capacity? So is there any way of doing authentication sort of thing, or defining a
And
equivalent.
there will, yeah, I think there is an option like ACL. Okay, the people from only this group can submit to here, or people from this particular group cannot submit like that. So
Hmm.
that is something like in ACL we do. Here you can see, right, which controls who can submit application to this queue. So those particular queue who can access, who can submit the job.
Right.
So that option is available. And but it won't let other people to what you said is correct, like so only thing is even though technically you can make use of other cluster also if you just specify uh, if you just change this parameter,
Hmm.
but the problem is like if ACL is set something like that, so it won't allow you to run that because maybe for department one, so they will exclusively give the access to those people alone.
Okay. So
Okay,
this will
now they
allow.
will. Yes,
Dinesh,
that option is there. Yeah.
Dinesh, can you tell me what is the impact of ACLs here? I mean, in the queues also, the ACLs will be worked, or ACLs are meant for file system level access control, right?
No, no. ACL just is, means here just access control only. That is just a terminology only. That ACL, the file ACL, and this is something different. Here, just this. I mean, the technically the same thing. Just we are restricting who can or who cannot. Is that clear or hello? That file ACL is something different. Here we are just controlling who people from which group can submit and people from which group cannot submit the job.
Rajesh, where you have you moved in the same area? This is some non-technical question.
Sorry.
Have you moved in the same area or you gone far?
Sorry,
Where
I didn't get that.
where you live in Kochi? You live in Kochi, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Relocate. No, no. In Kochi only. Just I was staying near to city side earlier. Now just moved to other side.
Because earlier
Uh,
I remember I used to hear from background noise nightingale, a quail. That's what we call in Hindi, nightingale. Now I could
uh-huh.
hear different other voices like dog and crow.
Yes.
Earlier it was
Yeah.
really pleasant.
Correct. This is just like a typical village. Uh, Even though it's 7 8 kilometers, only 7 kilometers from my office, but it's
Oh,
a full village life only.
I think you're enjoying life, to be honest. That's what I say.
Yes.
Very good. Congratulations.
Because the other area is like fully polluted,
Yeah,
so
I'm sure.
completely. But this is okay. Yeah. Okay. So we just changed to FIFO scheduler. Okay. And now I just changed that option from the configuration scheduler. So this is the one. So by default, the fare scheduler will be there. And if you just see here, you can see entire thing has changed now, right? So earlier we could see the capacity or FIFO. Now you can see the root.default and root.users. So let me submit the job from this user again. Now, if I just see here, so this is into root users and my ID. Okay. So here in fair share also the queue is there, and I'm just going to submit the job from this user also, test user, and this one was using the enter 36. Okay, that was the first job. So second job also gets submitted. So you can just wait a few minutes. Since maybe the second job is just initializing, so it has to reach to 100% and start. So that time, so we will see what happened. Uh, so you can see under root.user, so root.default, so this is the default queue, and one more is there, root.user, under root.user, root.user.myname, and this is all configurable. Now just understand, when we submit a job, so for that job ID, the new queue is getting created. But in production, you may see some differences. Okay, so like how the queues are configured or how the queues are getting created, that is something different in production. But again, this is a configurable parameter. If you change that configuration, this behavior will change. Now we'll see. I think the job is just getting submitted. Let's just refresh this. See, you can see new queue is created. So for test user 01, so this new queue is created. This is looks almost similar to the capacity queue, but the difference is there will be a fairness in scheduling or distributing the resources. So earlier enter 36 was used by this job. I mean the first one. Oops, I don't know where is the other one. Is this over? I think. So let me submit that another job here also. I think the problem here is we are not able to test this properly. So when we test that, the other job is getting completed. I think okay, let's just remove all those things which is really not needed. Capacity scheduler. Oops. Okay, so okay, let me just take 5 minutes break. I'll have some water and come back. Hello. Okay. Uh, okay. So main thing. Can you guys hear me? Okay. So the main configuration thing here we need to focus here is just use that enable that fair share scheduling. Just hit and save it. And the next, the queue configuration, then the default queue, all those things we can do from the dynamic resource pool configuration. Just go ahead and hit here dynamic resource pool configuration. Here we have option like resource pool, scheduling rule, placement rule, and user limit. Okay, so here uh, we can create the resource pool. Okay, so you can see the default is
Sujesh, what is the difference between resource pool and queues? I mean, in the queue you have
same
created.
same 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 only same thing only, but here uh, in Cloudera fair scheduler, so they are using the term pool. So that is the same thing that we have seen in the other area. We call it as queues. So here in we call it as so here we have root users, and here we can allocate how much percentage we have, and scheduling rule on and placement rule. This is the one you might have seen, like how the queues are getting created, right? So by default, so the placement role means when if someone submit a job, on which queue it will be placed. Okay, so in our case, we just submitted from this user and we submitted from the other user. So based on the username, it's selected the different queues like under root users. But we can change that. Okay, the placement role, use the pool specified at the runtime and create the pool if it doesn't exist. So that means, okay, this is having the first priority if he is specified. Second is use the pool.root.users or username and create the pool if it doesn't exist. So in this case, so that is the reason. So it created that. And the third option is use the root.default. So if this is not working, then only, but this there is a very rare chance like this will not work, but anyway, this will work. So we have option to edit or creating the placement rule. And so for example, I just want to create or just let the job to go to the default groups. Okay. So here the group is Cloudera admin or something. Just I can just use
Sujesh,
the root dot.
can you explain on a paintbrush? I mean, what is the relation between the queues and you have created production marketing? That is also,
No,
I
no,
think,
no. So that
confused.
I think that part is already over. So we have finished that part.
The
Okay.
part
So this is
what is that part called? That's called scheduler or queue? I don't know. I mean,
no. No, no, that is for capacity scheduler. That is over. Capacity scheduler we have explained and that is over.
okay.
Now we move to fair share scheduler or fair scheduler. Okay. So for fair share scheduler, so we are not doing anything. You can just remove those configuration from here if you already have that. But anyway, if you just change that scheduler option to this one, fair share scheduler, and save and restart. So this capacity scheduler configuration won't work. Okay, So after that, it will be making use of this fair share scheduler. That is the reason I submitted the job from this user and this user, and we could see that the job was getting submitted to so root users under root user this name. This is the queue name or pool name we call, and this is another queue name or pool name. So don't confuse with the production or marketing. That is already over. Now we are focusing on fair share scheduler. Okay. So for managing fair share queues and all, so we just need is just set the scheduler class here, and the remaining things, configuring the queues, placement rule, all we can use from go to the cluster dynamic resource pool configuration. And the placement rule, we were just discussing the placement rule, how the jobs will be submitted to the default queues, or how the jobs on which queue the job is submitted, that we can define. So by default installation, so this is the order. That means if we specify the pool name or the queue name while runtime, use that. The second is use this root.user dot that username. That is the reason it created the root.users dot this queue name. So again, we have option to add a new placement rule also. So then from this list we have option. So root.username, root.secondary group, root.primary group dot username, root.primary group. Okay, and or specified at the runtime. So these are the different options. I'm just adding that, and just select the create the pool if it doesn't exist. And because this thing I need to change the priority, because I need to reorder it, because I have to move down. Okay, and anyway, so I'm just adding this, but again, so this will not work because anyway these two condition will work. So let me save that. That is fine. And refresh dynamic resource pool. Just go ahead and refresh. Now, if I submit the job, okay, so here I'm not specifying anything, just submit. So here it will work this order. Use the specified pool at the runtime if it doesn't, can create the pool if it doesn't exist. So we don't have any pool specified. And the second is the pool root.primary group and the create if the pool doesn't exist. So now if you just come here, you can see this is the group name root.domain. Maybe this is the primary group name, and the job is submitted to this queue. And if I submit from here, so this is also domain user. So this is the group 513. See this group and this group. So if I submit the other job also, it will come to this group. So that is about the ordering policy. We can have the different ordering policy so that the placement rule. Okay, so it will create the queue, or we create the queue or the place the jobs into that queue based on this criteria. Okay, I can just reorder or just delete this also. I don't want this. I can delete. So this will work. Okay, so to update this, we need to just refresh dynamic poll. Okay, and go to the scheduling. Okay, so I'm just going to create. I hope this placement rule is clear. So placement rule will define how the queue will be created or how we submit the jobs to the queue. And go to the resource pool. let me create
The placement rules. Placement rules. The priorities. What are the general priorities we set in the real time, like pool specified at
here.
runtime? Like that means that the user does not need to specify any pool, like when you submit a job or what.
No, here he has to. Okay, so I mean, this is something like that. He has to, right? He has to specify that. So if he doesn't submit, I use that. What is next? So you got what this mean, right? See, while submitting the job, you have option to specify the same way. The queue name you can specify. So if that is there, it will override all other policy placement rule. So that means this is having the highest priority. So if this doesn't work, then only it will check the second case. If second case also doesn't work, then only it will go to the third criteria. So you got this, right?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, so this technically specify how these jobs are submitted to various queues. I mean, so the first case is based on the runtime option. So if that is not there, then it will create the queue with this name. If this is also not possible, then only it will create this one. I'm just going to create a resource uh, pool. So it's nothing but just like a queue. Let me create just like engineering. Okay, and we can have the weightage. Okay, so the minimum resource or maximum resource or minimum week or a minimum and maximum allocation for this one, or we can have the weightage. So if I just put the weightage 1 and do it here, so you can see everything is changed. So if I just add the weightage to 2 means, so it will get 50 percentage allocation. The reason is 1 plus 1 plus 2. And I can have one more queue, just like engineering marketing. And what is the weightage it need? So if I just want to change this, I can change it to 2. So that means 33 or this way. Or I can just change it to 3. It will get increase. So here also 3 means, so these two will have a highest, and or whatever the, if you just increase the number, right, you can see all together we will have only 100 percentage. So whatever the resources we will have, so that will be weightage is split into this way. And dominant resource fairness. Okay, and minimum and maximum, minimum running application, there are a lot of options we can here, like minimum resources, minimum week, or maximum running app, this all. Otherwise we can make use of the default settings. So here I just added the setting as 4 and 4. That means 40% and 40%. Save it. So here, if I just production and the next is production and marketing. Okay, so we may use the same name. Just refresh. Or else, okay, even if I don't have the name added here, just let me delete this one. So we have a runtime option also. Let me just show you that. Okay, I just deleted and kept only the default one. Now you can see the placement rule. So use the pool specified at the runtime and create if pool doesn't exist. So let me submit with the production. If this is running, see the root dot production. And if I come here to the resource pool, okay, here, come back to here, but there it's not showing. You can see this engineering, marketing, and production. These queues are created here, and the production so is using full 36 out of 36. That is the reason it's making use of complete resources. I don't know, like in the configuration, it's not displaying. Maybe I will check that. What you can see, this is the usage. So from the yarn, you have an option like a resource pool where you can see how much is using and all. What I'm going to do here is just go to the dynamic resource pool and creating these queues like
Can you show operational difference between phase scheduler and capacity scheduler?
see in fair scheduler, if two jobs are running, okay, uh, in basic fair scheduler, the thing is like if multiple jobs are running, it will give fair opportunity to other resources. So for example, just let me explain to you. See in fair, suppose I submitted the so I just have 50 containers or 50 slots available. We call that terminology slots, right? So I submitted a job one, and which require 200 containers to complete this job. Okay, so we have a total of 50 slots or 50 container available. I mean 50 gig and 50 cores or V cores. So how that work? So J1 submitted. So you can have the like running. So a and application master, running mapper or reducer, application master and pending, right? See, 49 will be running one application master and pending is 151, right? Then completed means at this time we have 0. So we are expecting a parallel run of this 20 mapper or 20 reducer, but in actually we may not be getting that in real time. We are not getting that parallel processing. So it's running like parallel plus serial mode of execution because it's able to run only 50 or 49 at a time. Then now you can see this 49 has completed Then again the next 49 will be running, one for application, and 102, right, will be in the pending. So this way it execute. Then if I submit another job J2, which may require 100 slots, right? So in our case 49 plus 15, so total is completely used by J1. If it's a fair share scheduler, what it will do, since it's detect J2, J1 job immediately, okay, so out of this 49 there will be some completed, right? I mean this maybe one by one it completed, right? So it may complete 25 or 26 something. If it complete 26, so in that case, or 25, in that case 24 will be running. So out of 49, if 25 is completed, then it won't take the job from the pending. So it will allow this to run. Like in that case, 24 plus 1 and 75 will be running like this. So the status will now change to this way. So one application master. Then if this out of this 24 someone finish, then it will take from the pending one, so that one job can run only 24. So this is how it equally distributed the share. And in like if you closely compare, you can see like the capacity and fair share scheduler, in the sense like configured the scheduler looks almost same. Like there we have a separate queues, and each queue it works in the FIFO mode. But here also we have the queue, but the way it works is in a fair share mode. Like if the second job will get equal or fair opportunity. But in capacity also we can configure the fair. So if you configure the fair share schedule at the capacity scheduling level, it looks almost similar to this queue. I mean this scheduler.
Like how we need to configure user level or a group level or a queue, I mean, in the fair share, like while configuring user level or resource level, how, I mean, here
No,
also we are
we
creating a production marketing, like, right?
yes,
Those,
yes, yeah, because it's all department or
yeah,
logical project. Maybe within the department itself, there will be different logical units. They have some different terminology or naming convention they use.
I did not find any difference between fair share and fair share and capacity scheduler. Here also, the queue, we are defining a queue production and we are giving the weight. There also we are defining a queue and giving the percentage of the utilization. Am I right?
Correct. The similarity is there. Lot of similarity is there in this um, scheduler and that capacity scheduler. Earlier, like I said, the capacity scheduler only allows FIFO. That means we have queuing. Queue here in the fair share also we have queue. In the capacity also we have queue. But here earlier only the FIFO was supported. Like within the queue or within the queue level, the second person has to wait. But in
Oh,
capacity scheduler, that is not required. Other than that, like percentage allocation, everything we can do with capacity and fair share also. Okay, here I'm just creating another queue. Um, this one also I can just change it to. Okay. Let me just restart the yarn service. Okay, or else leave it as it is. So I have created here also two queues. production and marketing, and let me submit the job and another job to marketing. Here you can see production we have already there, marketing also it just got created. Now if I just go to the yarn, then resource pool, you can see we have two, production and marketing, and initially both are allocated 1 gig, and for container and the core memory per pool allocation. Now you can see it's using 1818, right? So 18 this and 18 that, and just a second, we core allocated this one, yeah. Here you can see this is almost a 50-50, right? So this is for uh, root dot marketing, and this is for root dot production. So another beauty is here with the dynamic resource pool configuration, you can change this priorities. If I just use this, reduce this priority to 2, and refresh this at the runtime itself. Now back to here, and yarn resource pool, and you can see that maybe it takes some time. So we'll have to wait some time. So we just change the priority during the runtime. So slowly it will release. Once it's started releasing the resources, then one will be having lesser number of resources. Okay, go to the dynamic resource pool. What we did here is just change the weightage. For production, change to 25, marketing change to 50%. So that we will check here. So go to the yarn resource pool. See, immediately I changed to I mean percentage decrease, right? So the marketing got more. So I can just take this and see. See, this graph is graph was like 50-50 till here. Then suddenly this is getting reduced, right? And right now this is not using that much. So root dot production, and it's using 12 for 24 gig. Okay, so and again immediately if I want to change that, I have option. So basically during the runtime, so we should be able to change it. I'm just saving to 4, and this one I'm changing to 2 or 3, whatever the number you want. You can just change and refresh. Oops, my jobs are completed. So with the dynamic resource pool configuration, during the runtime itself, you can change that weightage or priorities for these queues. Okay. and scheduling rule, configuration, placement rule, user limit, and there is another option like so how this what is the scheduling policy we need. Okay, that we can do like FIFO or dominant rare or fair. So DRF means based on DRF will check the fairness of CPU and memory, but fair scheduler will just check only the memory. So that we can just change that to DRF. So that is for like for all these queues, the scheduling policy is DRF. Okay, and another thing, scheduling policy. Okay, preemption, ACL. I think this feature is relevant if enable resource manager ACL is set to true. Okay, I think I have to change that. Okay, so this is the default one. Okay, the percentage allocation we did. Similarly, we can have this different configuration. That is a configuration set we call, like for each queue, what is the percentage we need. So that we can just use like I can just say, for example, weekend schedule. Okay, so just cloning from that we called, and so just to take the Saturday and Sunday. Whole day or whatever, all Saturday and Sunday. I have just another scheduler configuration set, that is a weekend. Sorry, this is just typo. Okay, still okay. So in that case, so the default is the one. Okay, so this is the usage or I mean the percentage allocation. But for the weekend, what I'm just changing is, so we don't need a highest priority for the production. So the production I'm just using one, and we need more on marketing, just like 5 or 6 or whatever it may be. So and you can just do this. So in that case, so this 66 will work only for the weekend. So the weekend scheduling rule is that will run only on the weekend. Okay, I mean this is applicable only on for the weekend. So in that case, we have option to choose the configuration set and edit. So the default means,
Suresh, if you set to 6, it's showing 66. What is the, I mean, why? What is the ratio like? If you put 4, it's showing 50%.
see, that is the number. Okay, if you just add this all this together, say 1 out of, see in this case 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1, right? 4 plus 2 6 plus 8. So 1
Okay.
means 1 out of 8. 1 out of 8 is this one. This is 4 out of 8 means 50. 2 out of 8 is 25.
Oh, okay. If you add one, okay.
See, I'll show you. If I just add 1 1 1 1 means 1 out of 4, that will come, right? So that is 25, right? See.
Okay.
Okay, just if again this one also I just changed to 1,
Oh,
25.
okay, got it now. This was a
And
confusion.
yeah, this is if I just changed to 2, and this one also I changed to 2. See, so this means 2 plus 6, right? 1 out of 6, 2 out of 6, 4 plus, yeah, 2 out of 6. Then like that.
We need a mathematics in the Hadoop also, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if I have one more like 1 plus this is like 2 5 1 out of 5, right? So 1 out of 5 means 20 percentage, and 2 out of 5 means 40 percentage, like that. If you just change that number, and accordingly this will come. And we can have the different configuration set, like the default configuration set. If you just see hit here, so the default configuration is run when all other rules don't work. So the first priority is it will check this weekend schedule. So the weekend schedule will check this weekend priority only, like that. Say mainly we will do that different configuration set mainly to address this. On the weekend we have need to change the priority, or off business hours we have to change the priority, like that. That we can do. You got what I'm saying, right? Say for example, you have a cluster, and you have people working in from India and working from US, and we have different queues for India team and different queues for US folks, but there will be an overlapping schedule also. And how to address that? See, in India business hours, you can say high priority for India folks. That we can just use the configuration set like that, and one configuration set for Indian business hours or something like that. And another configuration set for US. So during Indian business hours, you can select that option from here, and give high priority for India folks. During US business hours, give high priority for US folks group, like that. And that is also option, like and that is about the scheduling rules. It's just like configuration set. Placement rule we have seen. Then user limit is something like for each user we can have a control, like how much he can use, maximum that usage limit. I think at the queue level also we have so this is relevant if enable resource manager ACL is set to true and admin ACL is not set to top level page. Settings that I need to check. Okay, so how to, but I think you get just a minimal understanding how this dynamic resource pool configuration works, right? So I know it's a bit confusing part. So only thing you have to just check is go to the configuration and make sure, like under scheduler part, that fair scale scheduler is selected, and the next is cluster dynamic resource pool. So you need to have a enterprise or trial edition to have this feature. To use the dynamic resource pool, and you will have the resource pool option. It's nothing but the queue creation. Maybe by default that created queue won't be display here. So in that case, you can manually create the same queue here. And scheduling rule, like I said, so we can have the different rule set. And the placement rule is nothing but how the queue are getting created. And once you have made any changes, you can just do the refresh dynamic resource pool. This doesn't require a service restart. And the next thing is just a view visualizing. Just go to the yarn, go to the resource pool. Here you can see whatever the queue which created and what is the usage. And also here you can see like what is the percentage of usage, how much this is using the various running or that completed queue, the percentage usage you can visualize from here. And at the each queue level, how much percentage. And I think yeah, we had a 50 or 80, that some changes we have made during the while the job is running. So for that you have to see that per pool allocation, and you can see that. Okay, so main advantage is while running itself you should be able to make these changes. So I know this capacity and fair share is confusing, but that is we can achieve the both same functionality using both. But initially the capacity scheduler is limited, and only thing is it have that capacity, and queuing is in FIFO. But nowadays fair share scheduling policy or application ordering policy support fair sharing also. Uh, the main thing is like in Cloudera the default is fair share, and in Hortonworks it's a capacity scheduler. You can just try it around in the dynamic resource pool configuration. It's nothing but option to create the pool, assign the privileges, and also in some cases you have, if you want to, you can just minimum and maximum resources or maximum running application. So those details also you can configure. And here the configuration set is nothing but the scheduling rules that you can add it, and we can have a different percentage allocation for different configuration sets. So mainly people use it for the weekend, on-site, offshore, that kind of option. The placement rule is nothing but how the queue will be getting created. So mostly this is the default, because so that means sometimes the people will opt while running that. So this should have the first priority. The next is the username or something. This is all depends. Okay, you can try it around, and I think by that time you will get much more better understanding. Okay. So any questions?
Concept only confusing, Sijesh. We need
Uh,
to.
Yes, yes, that is obvious. Like that is common only. But you can read and understand. The thing is like, so both will nowadays, both capacity and fair share will give this feature, whatever the feature a customer need. Then we may be thinking why this tool is needed. So the reason again, that is the reason. Like mostly the people are not changing the default scheduling option, and the dynamic resource pool configuration won't work with the capacity or any other scheduler. Like if your scheduler has to be fair share, then only this dynamic resource pool work. Then the similar set of option like graphical option is available in Hortonworks if you use the capacity scheduler. But technically we can change it, but the people won't change in production and all. So they will be using the default scheduler option. Only thing is there will be different multiple queues, and each will have its own allocation percentage, or they can have its minimum and maximum resources also. And scheduling policy, mostly people get DRF. So DRF means it will consider CPU as well as memory. But we have fair share also, FIFO also. But it's better to use DRF, because DRF will consider.
In real time, will they create a department wise or queues or a user group, or how this will be seen in the real time?
No, in real time you can see uh, project wise. Project wise looks mostly we can say it's like a different department in internally. Like
Project wise allocation.
yes, project wise in the sense like they have a different group also for that project. Maybe how to tell, like designing, and these groups are related together, but as part of the same organization itself. But
Oh, the project there will be a groups will be created.
for yes, for each like so here I say production, right? Production and marketing. If you just go to an industry, see the production designing people or marketing people also make using, right?
Okay, within the
So
the group will be created again.
mm, again, normally not, but still we can. I think this mm, no, under root we can have the root dot default. So let me just see that. So marketing. No, I think create a resource pool.
Like I need to know the concept of grouping, like a group of users. In a production, there are 100 users are there, but only 20 users as a group. As a group, they wanted to give the resource like allocation, weightage, like how they need to administrate the group wise allocation within the queue.
No, group. You are talking for each group. You want to create a pool, or I mean the queue.
Within the production, there are two, three groups will be there.
Normally, for each logical group or each group, they will create a separate queues. You got right. I mean, the production you may be thinking like it's a very vast group.
Production underscore G1, production underscore G1.
Yes, like a subunit will be there. Correct. Production and marketing is just like maybe confusing. Like there may be something like ABC production, DEF production, HGI production, like that. So the
Before
people who
that users group percentage, user percentage, something parameter you shown, right? You have configured that.
that is just for other queue, like capacity. Okay.
Okay.
So I think here also we have a default ACL is there. Submission and access control. I think we need to enable resource manager ACL. Okay. Then only this feature will work. Let me just check that feature. Configuration. Yarn.acl is enabled. That is fine. So you just need to check like so whether people can control this one, right? Not set to start, and enable resource manager is set to true. And
Today's class I understood creating the queue there in the your production, marketing and weights we are giving, and like user group, group level weightage or group level resource allocation is required in real time. I think, sometime back in one interview they asked me a question. That's why I am asking you.
no, what did they ask? Like how to control this thing, right?
Yeah, how to control the group wise resource allocation in schedulers. And they said some differences there, but they did not tell me because that's an interview, right? They they asked me questions only.
No, the thing is that is what we call ACL. Who can access and who cannot access that queue?
A
In
group wise
Yes,
resource,
yes,
something
your
like it.
group, yeah, group wise also, user wise also. We have seen for capacity scheduler, right? Similarly, here also option is there, but here now what I did is I just changed that ACL option is just set to star. So that means anyone can submit to any queue like that. So now I just remove that and trying to restart the service. So your question, I understood your question. Like, so how do we control or restrict the queues?
You give me little more examples in the next class about these queues, because every Hadoop admin needs a day-to-day life, like this is a firefighting life. Just next class also please continue the same topic, because need more information on this. Others, I don't know if the others does not require, then you can skip that one. Otherwise, I need in detail.
No, the thing is like this will be confusing for everyone. So I'm not saying that is common thing only for everyone. So this part will be confusing initially, but this will be a very easy thing. The only thing is we need to go through the things once again, or just to go read that, and at least try some hands-on. Then in the next class, if I just refresh or cover the thing, it will be much more easier for you.
If the concept goes into my brain, definitely I will try. If the concept does not goes into brain, no one cannot try, because no point in not trying, right? That's my only I know what the basic difference between capacity and phase scheduler. When we are going inside the practically configuring why we are giving that parameter, and what is the real-time requirement, those areas when they ask the question, definitely we will be blank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
We'll try and we'll practice it. See, just submitting a command and we just going through the URL is okay, but that concept should be digested. That's my requirement.
yeah. I mean, so you parallelly these two things, like what you said is correct, but we need to have it do it parallelly. So sometimes we may not be knowing anything theory, but we will be knowing practical. Sometimes we will be knowing the entire theory and we won't be doing the practical.
Yeah,
So
we will
parallelly, yeah. So here, I'll just show you how we can restrict that. So now what I did is just to go to the yarn and just change that ACL to open for everyone. So go to the configuration, and there is an option like ACL. So what they are saying is enable resource manager ACL should be true, and yarn admin ACL has to be not set to star. So it was set to star earlier. I just removed that and then saved. Now back to dynamic resource pool and marketing. I can edit and submission access control. So there are two things: administration access control and submission access control. Submission access control is something like it will control who can submit the job, or it can be either people, or it can be a group. So you can see these two options, right? Okay. Submission access control means one option is allow anyone to submit this poll. That means we don't have any restriction. Or we have a comma separated list of user or comma separated list of group. That means only the people who belongs to here or who belongs to this group can only submit jobs to that queue. So this is for one particular queue.
user groups, right? Where we will create the user groups.
No, we are not going to create. That is the Active Directory or backend active directory users or Active Directory groups.
Okay.
I have sent a link. If you read up this link, Prasad, I think this will clear a lot of your doubts.
Okay.
On yarn, people have written a whole book. Yarn is such a big area, and I know why you're asking these many questions, because yarn is such a big area, and that was a massive difference why Hadoop 2 was developed. So it's I know what you're asking, but I think you might need to do a bit of efforts at your level, because yarn is such a big area, and they can ask many questions, to be honest. So look at Cloudera has given a lot of information in there, and I think what Sujesh is saying, this is all written in that link which I've just sent.
Yeah, theoretically the concept was okay. Practically, if they ask the scenario, I'm unable to answer that. So many scenarios I failed in so many interviews.
No, absolutely, I understand, but I'm trying to help. I'm not saying that you know. I'm trying to help you. That's it.
Yeah. Sure. Definitely, I'll go through this link. I have watched other videos also, YouTube videos also, but the clarity, it's a YouTube video. We can't ask question to a trainer. Here, trainer is there. That's why I'm asking all these questions.
Yeah.
No, feel free. But what happens that you need to come up with, if you haven't done if you haven't been the Hadoop DBA or a Cloudera admin, right? You need to, and that's my basically tip to you, and you might know better than me, but you need to come up with your own hypothetical ideas hypothetical scenarios which you need to convert into those answers, which you need to give it to the during interviews. You see what I mean?
Yeah, the problem is during interview they will ask a lot of questions in yarn and HDFS. Correct, but the first time we won't get that is I mean while learning also we won't understand the thing, so that is common thing only. Don't worry. So we will I'll try to help you a lot, so don't worry. So the answer to your question, so how to control this one, that we have seen. So for each user in our environment, so which will be Active Directory users and Active Directory group, and we can control that who can submit and who cannot submit to the queue. The problem is like okay, I'm just giving a restrict. I have marketing and production queue, but maybe I'm from marketing and you are from production, but you still can use my queue. Okay, I may be thinking, okay, my people only submitted. So until and unless I go to the resource manager and check the user ID, then only I would be able to find. Otherwise, you can also make use of other people or the thing which is reserved for other people. So in order to avoid that, here we have an option like which group can access this one or which group cannot. I mean, but technically, who all are can access or who all are can submit the jobs to this particular queue. That is like submission access control option is there. For that, in the yarn configuration, you just need to remove that star from the ACL option. So here, like I have like Cloudera admin, or this group is something like Active Directory group. And administration access control means who can do the administration, like on the queue level administration. That is something like mostly administrator will do. But submission access control, this is the answer to your question, like how do we restrict people or group to the queue. So it's simple, just add the list of group who are allowed to access the job here, and you
No,
can save it.
resource limitation for the groups I'm asking within the queue, I mean, or outside the queue also, how we need to allocate the resource for the particular group.
Resource limit, I think resource limit we have already discussed, right? So
Yeah,
I
for
have
the
explained.
particular queue level, I'm asking about the group level.
Group level we cannot do, because this
Okay.
is something like we are just dealing with the queue only. And
Okay.
see, if you want to just for a group to have an thing, what you can do is you can just answer like so create a pool and give only access to that group, and then use the resource limit. So resource limit you have option here, right? Say like so 10 and 10 to 10 week or to 10 gig, and the maximum is 20, right? So or you can just use the weightage, or you can just hard coded values. So this is the limit for the pool or queue.
Pool level resources we are giving right here.
Correct.
Okay. In fair share, fair share we are calling it as a pool. In capacity we will call it as queue. Am I right?
Correct.
Okay. That question they asked me, one particular person asked me the question. There is a one department, engineering department. In engineering department, various divisions are there, like groups are there. How we need to configure group level resource allocation in a particular pool, some in a particular queue. That is the question he asked me. That time I was in confusion.
No, we have option to I think this is the option.
So can I
Other
say
than
something,
that,
Suresh? Sorry. So
yeah.
take example, hypothetically, we are talking here. So take example, if you create a pool and and that pool you call it a IT, take example, or what division you would one department, and under that pool, so that pool, take example, I am creating a pool called IT division, yeah, and that pool is it ties up to a a overall department, and underneath that pool I'm creating sub pools, yeah, And if you go into one of the,
subpool here.
yeah, you can create subpool, and that subpool is going to every division, and that subpool can be, so that division is allocated to that subpool effectively, and that subpool has resources allocated within that pool. You with me? So take example, if you go to marketing, Sajesh, in the marketing we can create different divisions or different subpools.
Is it possible
Correct.
in under the marketing, can we create a subpools here?
Yeah, you can.
Yes, yes, yes.
That says the parent pool. Yeah, and there you go. And now you can create subpool.
Uh,
I think it's down there somewhere underneath. No, I think we need to go back to the same one, Sajesh, marketing.
okay.
And there down there somewhere. It's, I think, if I remember correctly, there is subpool somewhere.
Last one, undeclared children or something like.
No, it says
Or else, what we can do is just marketing
let me search quickly. 1 second.
dot abc. This will create.
So Sajesh, I'm just pasting you this link. Just have a quick look at this link. So that gives you where we need to go. So click at the right of the resource pool row and select create subpool.
Dynamic resource. Oh, okay. It's already there.
Yeah, there, create subpool.
Okay, right.
So you see under marketing is coming here. So you can call it a division 1, division 2, division 3, whatever. And that 40% is, you can see, is already divided into 2.
Correct. So if I have one more, HIJ, then yeah, 13% to 13% like that.
Yeah, and these ones can be managed itself. They are little tiny ones. They can be scheduled as a fair and DRF, and they individually can be managed as well.
Maybe here you can just add that particular group here along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so
What are the issues you face regularly, Sajesh, like in your real-time day-to-day job? I mean, related to these queues and all, and what are the issues you generally face?
no, this normally we will be this is a one-time configuration normally, and only the time when we change is like any upgrade or decommission happen to the system. That
Okay.
time we will have a few more extra resources added. In that case, we will just add it or do some or any new department or new project on board. So then in that case, it will need to add that. Other than that, like most of the configuration we do here is like a one-time activity. So very beginning we will do. So the changes in the sense like adding an extra pool for new projects or changing that priority. That's it.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Other than that, like mostly we will do the troubleshoot issue with this resource manager, like slow running or long running, those kind of issues will be there. So the queue side, there won't be much issues. Only
Okay.
thing is we'll need to change this. Okay, then we will wind
Thank
up
you.
for now. Yeah,
Bye.
I will continue next week. Yeah.
Okay. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Sujesh? Hello?
Yeah.
Can I call you quickly for 2 minutes chat?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah,
call
sure.
you on WhatsApp. Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
all right. Yeah.